Hi guys. Hi. This one?
They've set the microphones up in the middle, so you take the middle one.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, ladies and gents, thanks for turning out today. Before I sort of formally introduce Danny, I just wanted to put on record the club's gratitude to Mickey Mellon, Paul Eckenbaum and Chris Howarth for stepping up over the last 2 weeks. I think they've done a great job with the Brighton result and some of the performances and the atmosphere around the club. However, the board felt that the club needed a manager to take us onwards and upwards, and after careful and considered thought in private, Danny was the unquestionable choice to take us forward. Obviously Danny's here on the top table with me to field questions over the next few minutes, along with Barry Taylor, Director of the Football Club. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to the floor and we'll field any questions from yourselves.
Sorry guys, can I just stop? Can I ask the photographers to go down because I can't see anything at the moment?
I can't get to the eye. That's really level.
How does it feel to be back, Danny?
It's a little surreal at the moment, I suppose. It's very exciting, I know that. Really looking forward to it. You know, you don't often envisage coming back to a place of work where you've enjoyed so much time. And fortunately, from my point of view, it's happened, and it's a fantastic time in my position.
So have you been meeting the players today, or what?
Yes. Yeah, we met the players, all the staff. Excuse me, and had a little chat with them before they went to visit the hospital this afternoon for the annual visit. And yeah, it seems fine. It seems quite good and quite a good atmosphere.
How's the club changed since you were last back? You said a long time.
It's changed a hell of a lot. Of course it has. Yeah, it's a long time ago, isn't it? You know, and I think that the facility itself is absolutely first class now. You know, and which obviously wasn't the case when we were here last. But they've the way it's been run over a period of time has been absolutely terrific, and that's why they've grown like they have, and that's why they're in the championship.
And how have you changed? Obviously, you've had a lot of experience now, whereas it was your first job when you were last here.
Have you seen these lines on my face? Yeah. Yeah, I think obviously, as a young manager, you do change. You get the experience, your decisions hopefully get better, more consistent. More understanding of the management of football clubs rather than just going out and picking a team. I think all the experience that you get, is puts you in good stead for this position now, and hopefully that will transfer back onto the players and certainly on the results on Saturdays.
Was it always a job you wanted to come back to at some point?
I don't think you ever definitely just think about that all the time. I think it's circumstance, isn't it? Unfortunately, there's been a situation where the manager's left before, and David, was unfortunate in that respect. He has a lot of respect from people, the fans and certainly the players within the club. It happens sometimes, unfortunately. I know very well, but I think that retaining Mickey as an assistant, if you like, is going to be absolute paramount from my point of view. He's going to be a great help from my point of view. His experience and his knowledge of the club, and certainly the players, is going to be paramount in us going forward. And I'm delighted that he's decided to stay. We seem to have got off to a very good start with a good chat we've had for the last few hours or so. And let's hope we can transfer it into the players.
Danny, the last time you were here, your job was ultimately taking the club to promotion. It's a bit different to start off with, at least this time, isn't it?
It is, Bryn. I think the situation's completely different, isn't it? Obviously, for all the memories that we have that many years ago, it really counts for nothing at the moment, does it? I think that it's a feel-good factor from my point of view, certainly, but it won't get us a result on Saturday. That alone, but I think that the whole scenario, the whole picture is, from my point of view, is fantastic. To come back, to be invited back is a real dream.
They do say never go back, though, don't they?
Well, they do, yeah. But is that always in hindsight? I don't know. But so I mean, there's a few lads who've done quite well when they've gone back. But I don't even think of that. It's a terrific challenge. It's going to be a tough one. Let's make no bones about it. There's some very tough games coming up. But what I've seen of the players already in the games we've watched and obviously the input that some of the staff have had, they've got the quality to stay up, you know, and we have to, you know, play that belief into the players that is the case, and they're no better game than the derby game on Saturday.
Have you kept your eye on the division in the short time you've been away from it?
Have a look, mate.
Kept your eye on the division?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I've been to loads of games. You know, lots not been sat on my backside. Like, you know, it's I've been getting out to games. You know, and not more than to get from my missus' feet, under my missus' feet. That's more than anything. But no, you still keep in touch, of course you do, and you know what's going on up and down the division, certainly the Championship.
You mentioned the squad there. From what you've seen, the bit you've seen so far, does it need much doing to it? What's the job immediately in front of you?
Well, if you've seen the games yourself, and maybe you've seen more games than I have at Oakwell or certainly at Barnsley, and they're close. You know, they've been very unlucky in lots of games, and that odd mistake that they've made has cost them games. The odd chance they've not put away has cost them games. You know, and we've got to turn that little bit of a mental approach, shift it sideways, and maybe move it on to a more positive aspect of it. But I think overall there's not a great deal wrong with Barnsley. I think they've been quite unfortunate at times, but unfortunate, you know, it's still not getting the results. So you know, we've got to change that mindset right now.
The nature of the Championship is it's so close, so evenly matched that nobody's very far away from each other still, are they?
Well, that's. I think you can throw blankets over the bottom half of the table, really. You know, and look at any team that has, you know, a lack of form in the next few months. They can switch places quite easily with it. Is it a bonus being at the bottom and nobody expecting anything, and maybe getting out of it a bit of a miracle of the air? You know, maybe that might be the best place to start from. You know, and if you start getting a few results, people look over the shoulder very quickly, particularly if they're on the slope coming down. And I think that we've got to believe we can do that. We've got to target a few teams that's above us and see how close we can get to them.
Ben, what did you look for in your new appointment?
I think we were all, and it's probably been part of the challenge that Danny's now going to face, a little bit disappointed. I think expectation was that David would drive on from last year, so once that didn't happen, we wanted to take the time to allow Mickey, we made some changes to the staff to allow Mickey an opportunity. I think, you know, the board would concur that Mickey started that process with his selection, and we were buoyed by that. But I think when we looked at the shortlist of candidates and the applicants, when I say the board, there's obviously myself, Barry, Morris, and the owner, Patrick Crime. There was one gentleman at the top of that we felt could drive this football club forward, unite this football club, and have the experience to manage a situation. And once we outlined to Danny the situation and that we'd like him to, and the staff wanted to drive on under him, I don't think we had anywhere else to go, and Danny was offered the opportunity from us to come back, and he grasped it and wanted to be here and couldn't wait to sort of turn up this morning. So we're delighted, we drive on. The game's come thick and fast now. I'd ask everyone that's been behind us to do everything they've done for us this year, and hopefully with those tickets we gave away against Yeovil, see if we can attract one or two new fans. We've done some promotions to make sure that the derby game in particular is going to be lively. Sam Rush I know well from my days at Wasserman. They're going to bring a few on the 29th. Bolton's going to be a game that I'm sure Danny's going to be targeting as well. And secretly I'd love him to do very well at Saturday. So I think from a considered, in private approach, not playing things out in the media, we knew where we'd go, and we're delighted to have got him.
There's been too many changes at this level, haven't there, in recent seasons? I bet you'd love a longer term vision, particularly you would, wouldn't you, Danny?
Well, of course, but you know, in football it's your next game, isn't it? You know, you can never look too far forward, and I'll never do that anyway, Bryn. You know, we've got a massive game on Saturday now, and I know it's an important Christmas period and New Year period, but the first priority is Leeds, and we can't look too far forward now. What happens in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, you know, it will happen, whatever it will be. But I don't think it's anything that we're looking forward to too far forward at the moment. We'd love to be able to be challenging, be in a different position this time next year, but you never know.
It's a crazy game at the moment from anybody taking on the sort of role you're taking on, isn't it?
It's a crazy game anyway, isn't it? When you see, you know, the lads leaving jobs left, right and centre at this moment in time, and it's difficult, but that's the pressure that football clubs are under, you know, and unfortunately, you know, decisions are made, right, wrong or indifferent, but they are made, and and it's a very tough industry at the moment.
Ben, how much did you consider the views of supporters? Because it seemed like Danny was very popular, a popular choice perhaps with the fans to see him return to Oakwell.
I think you try your best to. I think as an executive and as a board, you've got to be careful to make sure you do the right things that you feel are right for the football club. And as I just outlined, we felt that the situation and the circumstances as such at the moment lended itself to Danny. But I think you've got a gentleman, I'm not trying to make him sound too old or experienced, but with nearly 1,000 league games, with promotions on his CV, with an intricate knowledge of the club. Norman Rimington, having been one of the first that Danny said hello to again today. I think we just felt at this stage of the season, with the Championship, it's just been alluded to, an absolutely relentless challenge, that what we needed we've got in Danny, and we're pretty sure of that. We do try and listen to the fans. I think we may be, I don't think overcompensated, but we're acutely aware of the rather public and at times slightly embarrassing managerial search last year. And I think also we felt that Mickey has a lot of qualities and wanted to identify those, and Danny's alluded that he's delighted that Mickey's staying, and Ian Wilcox and John Lucas, and so are we. So yeah, I think the fans are important, but when it comes to it, we had to sit down as a board and get what we felt we needed. And in Danny's application and his meeting with Morris, and Barry, we felt we got what we wanted.
How pleased were you with the process then of selecting a new manager? Because you've been saying there that you felt last time perhaps the club didn't do it in the right way. So do you feel like you've got it?
I think I don't want to cast any negativity about the individuals involved in that. I think what we've tried to do since Morris and I have come to the football club is conduct our business as best possible in private. It's very difficult in football, but definitely with buying and selling players and recruiting players, and we wanted to do the same with Danny. But I probably never expected, I said in my programme notes, to be looking for a manager so early in the season, but that situation arose. We had to look for one. We approached one, we met one, and he signed. So yeah, I think as the search has gone, as a football club and as an executive, we're happy with that.
Danny, how did the sort of the time frame go then? When did you first get contact from Barnsley, and to the point now that you are the new manager?
I met Barry and Ben and Morris yesterday afternoon. That was the first real face-to-face contact. Yeah, I had a phone call to see if I'd meet up with them. I think I was at the venue before then, maybe the day before then. Actually, I was excited. But yeah, it's been done. I have to say, it's been done very professionally. You know, and Ben's just saying there before about having to do it in a certain way. I thought there's a lot of publicity about new managers going to clubs and what have you, and I think they've done it very well. I think they've kept the lid on things. Not necessarily with myself, I think in the whole process, and I like it. I like deals being done like that.
And without wanting to harp on to your last spell here, how different has football changed perhaps since then? How tough is it to do what you did here last time these days?
Well, it's obviously tougher. I think the money influence is the biggest factor. I think the clubs who come out of the Premier League have an edge on the ones that's in the Championship. The ones who have been relegated for a couple of years. So there's always going to be that challenge in front of you. But you never say never, do you? Who would have thought? Blackpool would have been up, for instance, a few years ago. So it's still there. The dream is still there for everybody. It's and it should never ever be cast aside, that dream. You've always got to have the dreams, and when you get clubs like that, and Barnsley many years ago, it gives everybody hope, and we certainly have that. But obviously, before we can start thinking about that, we've got other issues to deal with first. And that's getting away from where we are at the moment.
You got a good record at Ellen Road, Danny.
I'm not going to count my chickens yet, but we've been okay. Yeah, we've not done badly over the seasons yet. Yeah.
How big is that game, Danny? You think your first match?
Bigger, can you? Derby game, you can't get it bigger. It's if you're going to approach it in that manner.
Be great.
It will, and I think it is too early. We spoke at look. We've probably been sort of small margins away from getting points and getting. We've got real quality in the group, and we're sure that we've got the right man to get that out and get us winning football. Danny's alluded there again to the differential in some of the sides of the budgets, but I think that the supporters and the wider public have seen that we're prepared to recruit a different profile of player, and the owner has been incredibly supportive of David, both last season and this season, and as best that we can within the confines of this football club, we'll continue to support whoever the manager is, and obviously that starts with Danny today.
Ben, do you think Danny was the fans' choice?
I've tried not to get too... I got some good advice from a couple of chief execs to seek to try and stay away from some of the fans' forums. My honeymoon period, I'm reliably informed, is probably over in that regard, and I've got a good media team in Mark and Matt that'll guide me as to what the fans are thinking at the right times. But I repeat earlier, I think we've made the appointment that we feel is for the best of the football club given the circumstances that we're presented with today, and that was the decision we wanted to make.
Is the contract till the end of the season, or is it longer than that? Or?
I think what we don't do, because we've had various comments about contractual situations in the past, and people have drawn correct and incorrect inferences. Danny is our manager. He's here. I hope he's here for longer than he was last time, because that means we're successful. But we're not going to give away those confidential details anymore.
Okay, and just check the no one's left. All the staff have stayed the same, and Danny's the only one that's come in.
Absolutely, yeah. It was important for us that we wanted the staff to stay, because we feel that the staff have worked tirelessly over the last 2.5 weeks since David, Martin, Guy have gone, and yeah, none of those have expressed a desire to be anything other than 110% supportive of Danny in this football club.
Did the result and the possibility of performance against Yeovil maybe make you want to get a manager in more, or was it planned to do this week anyway?
I think as a board we'd always saw it as maybe a two-stage process, that we needed. I think those of you that saw the Birmingham game were aware that up until then, I felt that not only the supporters but more importantly the players were still very cohesive and behind David. That was a game where we stepped back, and unfortunately it wasn't a nice thing to have to do after the game, but it was right to make a decision then. We then had we had a number of games in short succession, and given the performance, I think you were there against Brighton, was excellent. So it bought us that time to get together as a board, to draw up the list of criteria we wanted from an individual, and as I say, there was one that came to the top of that list, and when it was right for us and when everything was in line, we made that approach, and Danny's here today because of that.
So just on, I mean, Danny answered about the time frame earlier. What day did you sort of decide that it was going to be Danny and approach him?
I think the individual discussions of the board should remain, sort of private and confidential. But I think we knew where we wanted to go. We knew the decisions we wanted to make. We made decisions about the staff to give Mickey the opportunity, and I think now it gives Danny the opportunity to work with some really good staff.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah. Can you take some photos just with the photographer stand and pitch side?
You're led by you now, Mark. I'd like to say he was there to add a bit of beauty to the top table.